All right. Hi, Elise. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm so glad that we're still able to meet considering everything that's going on. So I just wanted to just thank you that we're still able to just have over the video conferences or like just sessions. But I just had a question. Can we go over confidentiality with this type of platform?
Absolutely. So it works much the same way that regular confidentiality does. Zoom is actually a HIPAA approved platform, so it is compliant with HIPAA laws, and your safety as well as mine should be protected. I did send over a little web document that's indicated some of the different things that you needed to be aware of. So as long as we get that signed and everything, we should be good. Does that sound okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, the fact that it's password protected, that just makes me feel secure and everything. And I just wanted to make sure that we're able to, still have our weekly meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we're nearing our third session, I just wanted to kind of summarize what we've talked about a little bit in the past, go over some of the goals that you mentioned, and we'll go over a little bit about what the homework did for you, whether or not that worked, some of the results, what you found for yourself, and then maybe talk about some things that you can do moving forward. Does that sound all right?
Yep, that sounds great.
Wonderful. Okay, so some of the goals that we mentioned last time were that you were really lacking consistency in your life. So we were trying to figure out how to maintain some kind of work-life balance, maybe drawing some boundaries with both your roommates, but also some of the people in your friend or in your friend group, just saying, I'd love to be there for you, but right now I can't give that time to you. Does that sound correct?
Yes, that is exactly what is going on. And that's still what's continuing to just go through what's going on. Sorry.
No, that's okay. All right. So for homework, I asked you to put together a list of how boundaries were being crossed and maybe some of those solutions. So do you have that list with you by any chance?
Yes. So here's my list. I have it in my little book right here. But some of the boundaries that were being crossed is, once we had a conversation, well, to start off with everything, we're both very communicative, which is really great. And she was able to provide a safe place, like where we're able to really just talk about each other's feelings and what's like going on. However, whenever we have these conversations, her friends ended up telling me like that she was talking about me because I was vulnerable with her about my concerns. I just thought that, having people over like from Thursday to Sunday is just something that bothers me, especially coming home from work, like we mentioned that other time. So once I told her that, she was just basically saying like, I don't care what her life consists of. Like, if I want to have people over, I can have them over. And it just sucks because you provided that safe place for me, and now you're just saying like, you're basically saying, screw you. I don't care that you're living here. And I'm not living with her, like we're living together. So I didn't just move in with her and she's doing this. It's something that we agreed on, and we agreed that we're going to have certain limitations, or, that's what. So that was like one thing. So I was able to, so that's what sucks, is that we created these boundaries and then she just said basically like, these don't even matter. So that's kind of hard, where boundaries between us, but now those were boundaries between us, but now I'm saying like, these are boundaries with me, and it's me not answering every single question that she wants to know.
Mhm.
It's me like saying, hey, you already had people over, like these days I need like a day off where I can just really relax. So that's one way. Also, not responding right away and saying, hey, I'll give you that answer later, or just saying like, hey, we're going through a pandemic right now, is it really necessary for people to still be coming over? um, that's something I thought that was worth having a conversation over. because we already had a conversation of like, hey, we're going to stay home. We're only going to go out if we need to be going out.
Mhm.
I'm working from home. She's doing her own clinical stuff. So she has to go to her office and do clinicals there. So I get that. But to have people coming in from out of town is just heart like it hurts because she knows that I just have like a weak immune system, and I don't want to make it about me and take away from her because I know she's very extroverted, but there are other ways to do these things. Like if you're I think you can have a Zoom meeting with your friends. Like what is so hard about that that
It's
you have
something
to
we're
physically have
doing.
to have them here? Yeah, it's exactly like if I'm not able to see my counselor face to face, or other people or other counselors aren't able to see their clients face to face, and to me that's something huge. Like mental health is just so important, but the fact that you still bring people over is just kind of weird. Like I don't know.
So when
It's
we
just
talk about essential workers, this is more essential, whereas friends may not be so essential. Well, in terms of you can get online with them and that works, but it's, you know what I'm saying? Priority.
yes.
But it sounds
Yes.
also that you sound a little frustrated, but also kind of pained by the fact that she asked you to show her some respect and saying, taking an interest in her life. But then all of a sudden, things have kind of turned the opposite direction where she's not respecting what you've asked of her, even though
Yes.
she did provide that safe space where you were allowed to speak freely. But also, a little bit, it sounds like to me, if I'm understanding correctly, that you feel a little betrayed by the fact that she went and has been inviting these people over without consulting you, especially in a time where we're in crisis during this pandemic.
Yeah. And then a part of me struggles with, am I mad that people are coming over during this time, or am I hurt because I feel that I'm not providing enough for her?
Hmm.
So that's like something that I kind of go through is like, am I not providing much more of myself as a friend to you that you have to be inviting people over? But then again, it goes back to me not wanting to provide for myself because I'm barely providing for enough time for me.
Hmm.
Um, so that's something that I'm battling with now.
Well, if you were to kind of describe your ideal relationship with your roommate and the dynamic that were to take place in your house, what would that kind of look like?
Um, well, right now with everything that's going on, I just want to be able to have my time to me, but then also not like that I say it out loud. It kind of sounds selfish, but only be there whenever she's requesting me. That just sounds weird, but um I don't know. I think it's just hard for me to even want to be around her because I just don't trust her anymore. Like I think there's a lot more than just super super level, or like what superficial level, or like just leveled things.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe you could provide some kind of structure in your day so that way you're able to schedule that little piece of time for yourself. I understand what you're saying when you're talking about kind of that you don't want to give her all this time because you feel like you've given her enough maybe at this point. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
And once she did turn it back on you and kind of after she had asked for something, it didn't seem like you don't feel the need to owe her anything. Is that,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess like just finding boundaries with myself and saying, there's just a lot more than the boundaries at this point. But I've been working on the homework with boundaries and setting them. Maybe it's also just trusting in myself, working on that, and trusting my own boundaries and myself.
Mhm. Okay, so what do those boundaries look like for you otherwise, though? So, without regard for your roommate, you said that you have been taking the time to say, no, I can't give that this time to you. Is that just with your roommate or is that holistically? Because I do know that you mentioned previously that your sister lives with you, right?
hmm yeah, so with my sister, I think everything is fine. I feel like sometimes I want to give her more time, but I've also learned that she just needs to have her own time by herself, and I don't need to always be there with her. But I definitely, everything's completely fine with her. At this point, I think right now it's just the other person.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so being that you do live in the same space, is there anything that you can do to kind of, you said that she's very busy and you tend to be very busy. How often do you guys cross paths, just so I have a better understanding?
Um, so Monday, like, so 3 days out of the week, I really won't see her till the nighttime, but on Tuesdays and like twice out of the week, I'll see her all day,
Hmm.
whenever she wakes up.
Okay, so I'm
Hmm.
wondering, even though you guys have had some of these conversations, maybe if you were to sit down and say, hey, these are the days, this is what I need. You get your energy maybe in a different way after you are decompressing for the day, but for me, it looks a little different. And kind of just saying, at least, can I have this many hours just quiet time at the house, or this specific time, maybe working with her to try and create something that's more realistic for the both of you, because it seems like she still wants to have her friends over, whereas you want some quiet time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, maybe let's talk about some of those possible solutions. So you said you keep drawing these boundaries. Um, Now, how else might we be able to create some time for you? Is there any specific thing that you derive a lot of pleasure out of, that you could just take the time at an hour, maybe take a bath or some kind of self-care, that so that way you feel like, this is my time, you are in control, you have that grasp on it.
Yes. I definitely think the bathing is really good. And then just, having that time, I've gotten more consistent with devotionals. So every morning, whenever I wake up, before like a good 10 minutes before work, since working from home, I've been having daily devotionals on the Bible app. So that's what I'm doing with that. So with spiritually, that's how I'm staying connected and how I'm like giving me time and time with God. And then of course I also use that devotional time to do fellowship with my girlfriends. So that way we just comment like, this is how I felt with this devotional. And it just, starting my day like that really sets me up to just have a really good day, because I'm spiritually fed and I'm in a really great mindset. So I think that's just making a really great transition in my life, and just having God in my life a lot now, and just reading the word has really been providing that for me. So now that I'm really thinking about it, I should take some time once I'm out of work to do that too, because in my head, work is still here at home. And that's something that I was also thinking, is because on my way to work, it's about an hour drive, 40 to an hour drive to work in the morning. So that was my time that I took for myself to prepare myself, whether it was listening to a podcast, whether it was listening to a Devo, that was my time. And now it just makes more sense because I'm not driving those 40 minutes and giving that time to myself. And then on my way home, it's rush hour too. So it's about an hour to get home as well. And that's my time to completely decompress myself
Mhm.
and like want to be available for other people. So I think I kind of just found that solution right now as like, give yourself an hour after 5 and say, hey, this hour is for my time to just really decompress and detach myself from my office. Because even after 5, sometimes I'll still work because I forget that I have to leave. Like, the only reason why I would leave my office is because everyone's like, it's 5 o'clock. Like, that's
Mhm.
kind of weird. But yeah, so I think like once it's at 5, I have to just send in the reports I need to send in. And then from there, I'm saying, I just need an hour from 5 to 6, and asking that um, from my roommates. I think that's going to give me the time that I need for myself, and say, hey, after this time, like, I'm really open to just discussing anything else with you. And I do want to make time with you.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've started these devotionals and checking in with your friends. So that's kind of what energizes you in the morning. And then, so following up with something in the evening just to check in and say, all right, so now my day is winding down. I'm back at home. Let's talk about some ways that, or like with yourself, anyways, talk about some ways that you can get comfortable, what you can do for yourself in that hour just to kind of settle. It sounds like that seems like a great idea. I love that you found that solution. That's what talking it out. That's what
Yeah.
that's the progress, baby.
Yeah, most definitely. I didn't think about that until I was actually like discussing that with you. So that just makes a lot more sense now than anything. Because back then I think I was just like, okay, I'm home and whatever. But now I'm able to just help myself transition because I am working from a remote location where I literally roll out of bed and just go into the office and then yeah, that's definitely going to work. So I can definitely do devotionals. There were some days where I was just like going back to my room and watching Netflix, but then that I honestly feel like that hasn't been helping me. As weird as that sounds, because then I just don't want to be productive whenever it comes to school. So definitely something that energizes me is like doing devotionals, having a quick phone call with a friend, or just I think something that I can also start doing is just reading about school or like different types of interesting conversations or journals. Maybe I can even start doing the podcast and have a jam out session for an hour because that's what I was doing and that's what was disconnecting me because I wasn't bringing work home and
Mhm.
now like work is home. So that's something that I can do is like listening to music for that time and just like I always sing in my car and I haven't sung in like so long now that I think about it because I don't have to drive anywhere.
Yeah, that's kind of my release as well with the music. So without that routine, it can get kind of difficult. I feel very, very on board with that. Okay, so we only have a little bit of time left, and I wanted to just talk moving forward. So,
Mhm.
what we kind of talked about in summary is the way that you and your roommate have kind of been butting heads, the way that you've tried to draw boundaries in the past, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and kind of trying to develop a more routine schedule. And again, with that consistency. So, we went over kind of those boundaries that you felt like were being crossed, and then some, we obviously came up with this possible solution, right?
Mhm.
You still like the idea of having some time for yourself in the morning, maybe with those devotionals, getting energized in the morning, and then just something to ground you whenever you come home.
Yes, definitely. I never realized that, but this session has really encouraged me to find other outlets and just really time for myself in that. And I really want to put this in effect. So tomorrow I'll have like a 3-day weekend, but tomorrow's my Friday. But I'll definitely do that after my work and just say, hey, I'm starting a new routine and we're going to follow up. Consistency is what's going to make me different from who I was in the past. So being consistent is just really going to work out for me. It's been working out for me in the mornings. So it's just been really good. And I look forward to how that's going to help me during my nighttime.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how it works for you as well. I'm thinking maybe some accountability. Maybe we could try, in addition to you adding this time, just a sentence on how it made you feel at the very end of this hour, just so you can hold yourself accountable. It's not a journal, it's nothing, it's just how you feel, how it made you feel.
Mhm.
And then maybe we could talk about that next time. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds really great. Um, Journaling is something that I've been doing regardless.
Mhm.
So it's just been really working out too. But I think it's really great that in that moment, I'm really acknowledging how the time that I'm setting apart for myself is actually making me feel, because that was something that I like struggled with in the past. So acknowledging it now and saying, hey, you were really peaceful after this hour that you took for yourself.
Mhm.
um so I think that will definitely hold me accountable and say, this is what you felt yesterday, so do that hour again for yourself the next day.
Kind of provides a little motivation as well, huh?
It does.
Yeah. Well, Elise, it was great talking to you, and I hope that I can hear from you next week. So when we reconvene, excuse me. But in the meantime, I know that things are crazy out there right now. So if you need me for any reason, you can always reach me over email or phone call if you need.
Yes, thank you so much.
Elise, I'll talk to you later. Have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.